everybody, and happy Prison of Elders Day! I was lucky enough to be invited to Bungie Studios to get some hands-on time with the Prison of Elders. So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my experience in the arena and also giving you as much information as I possibly can. And of course, I'm going to be showing you gameplay to go along with all of this information. But this gameplay doesn't actually belong to me. It belongs to EasyNow1337. If you guys don't know who he is, I will leave a link in the description so you can go and check out his channel. He's very Destiny focused, so if you like Destiny, you'll probably like his channel. And he was kind enough to send me this gameplay and let me use it, because when I was actually capturing Prison of Elders gameplay, I was two-manning it. There wasn't enough people for me to three-man it, and I didn't want to show you guys an experience that is not true to the experience you guys are going to be getting. You're going to be having a three-man experience, so I didn't want to show you a two-man. So thank you so much to Easy Now for letting me use this gameplay, showing you what the experience is actually going to be like. So within the Prison of Elders, you're going to be fighting 3 waves of enemies to complete 1 round, and there's 5 rounds in total. Now each of these waves, each time you go into this room, you're going to be fighting a different type of enemy. There's room for the Cabal, there's rooms for the Vex, the Hive, the Fallen. All of your beloved aliens are sitting in the prison waiting for you to execute them, I suppose. And every time you go into a new round, you're gonna get different modifiers. If you think about Nightfall, you're very familiar with modifiers. There's things like Light Switch, where melees do more damage. There's things like Juggler, so you don't get ammo dropping for the weapon that you're using. But there's not just modifiers that work against you, there's also some modifiers that work with you. Like I saw one where your primary weapon does more damage. Now these modifiers are gonna be completely different every single time you enter the Prison of Elders. So your experience every time you play this arena is gonna be completely different. Along with these modifiers, there are gonna be some new game mechanics introduced in the House of Wolves that you're gonna be seeing in the Prison of Elders. These include these bombs that you're looking at right here, where if you don't shoot them, they will explode and create this big electrical cloud thing where when you're inside it, it slows you down, which can be extremely deadly in the Prison of Elders, because it can get pretty hectic sometimes where you're trying to run and scramble for your life, and if you walk through this grenade and it explodes, you're gonna be slowed and you're probably gonna die. I kind of rhymed a little bit there. It's my thing. I rhyme. No, it's not my thing. So you want to make sure that if you do see those mines, shoot them. When you go into it at the very beginning of the round, there's a little bit of time before enemies start spawning, so shoot as many of those things as you possibly can, because you don't want to be accidentally running into any of them. You're also going to be experiencing exploding shanks, which is a brand new type of shank coming into the House of Wolves. These shanks don't just pew 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 you from a distance, they will run at you and they will explode all over you and kill you. So it's a different kind of explodey, just like the explodey hive dudes and that one explodey triangle dude in the Vault of Glass. So that's pretty simple. It's a very simple arena experience. You have 3 waves, you clear them, you win the round, and then you go back to Airlock, where you're going to be going into a different place to fight a different set of aliens. But it's not just this the entire way through. Not only do you have the random modifiers, but you're also going to be experiencing some objective-based rounds. So as you'll notice on the left-hand side, there's something that says critical objective. In this particular objective mode, you have to destroy mines. So you'll notice on the right, there's a mine that has appeared and it has a countdown timer. If for some reason your team is struggling, which you probably will be, it's happened to me before when I was playing the Prison of Elders, you're struggling and you're running away and you can't get to the mine and destroy it in time, your team's gonna die and you're gonna have to start this round all over again. So there's gonna be 3 of these splinter mines that you have to kill, and your team has to be on top of it. One strategy that I found works really well is if you have one person kind of distracting all the enemies and killing them, and then the rest of your team can kind of work on these objectives and make sure that they get them down. Bubble Titans are actually really perfect for this because they can distract people with their bubble, and your team can be free to get to the objective safely and destroy it in time before all of you end up exploding. Now at the end of some rounds, you will be given a gift. In this case, we were given the Scorch Cannon, which is the cannon that we saw in some images and people were thinking it was a new exotic. It's actually a weapon that you get given that has 10 rounds in it for you to use. It's very, very, very powerful, but obviously you only have it for a short period of time because it only has 10 rounds in it. So every now and then you'll get get gifted one of these things and you're free to pick it up and run around and destroy some enemies or mines, because it actually works really well on mines, with the Scorch Cannon. Now, another gift that I've also seen is an heavy ammo spawn, so they'll just drop a heavy ammo crate in the map, so you can go and refill your heavy ammo. Now, it doesn't last forever, so you can't just keep running back to this crate, and it also does have a timer countdown on it, so if you don't pick it up within that time, then it's going to disappear and you're going to just waste it. But you do get gifts to help you along the ride sometimes in the Prison of Elders. Now, there is also another objective that you guys would have seen just pop up right here, where you have to dismantle the mines. So you don't shoot them, you actually have to dismantle them. And the way that you dismantle them is by standing in the little circle until it's dismantled and it's no longer gonna blow you up. And of course, the same thing applies. You have to do this, otherwise you lose a round and you have to start over again. Now, with destroying mines, it's not too bad. It gets a little sticky here and there, but if you're in a really bad situation, you can just shoot a rocket at it, shoot a Gjallarhorn at it, and it kills it. But with this diffusing of splinter mines, you actually have to be stuck in a very, very, very small area for a good amount of time. So when you're in this situation where it's getting really crazy and there's enemies all around you, you can definitely mess up and miss one of these splinter mines. It happened to me. I was two-manning it, so it was a lot more difficult, but it's definitely happened to me. It can get insane in the Prison of Elders, especially when you're going on to these later rounds and the waves are so much stronger and you're dealing with enemies with multiple shields. It can get really, really crazy. So again, the tactic of having people distract the enemies and kill them and having one person go and get the splinter diffused, that can really work, because if you're in the situation where you're just running away from enemies, you can't get to the splinter mine because you're being chased and you're about to die, that's not going to work. So a very viable strategy is definitely to have one person running around and doing that, and having two people killing enemies or one person killing enemy while the other two diffuse, whichever works for you. But that distraction technique while someone diffuses or kills the mines is definitely a very good idea. Now, there are also bosses that you're gonna have to fight in the Prison of Elders. This round, we're gonna be fighting the Wretched Knight, Darkblade of the Hive. So of course, this is a hive environment. By the way, light switch in a hive environment sucks. Having all the thrall running at you with the potential of one-shotting you is not that fun. It's not that fun. It gets crazy. I was just jumping around like a crazy person. I don't know how I survive in most of the situations that I do, but I somehow managed to stay alive by simply just jumping and running. That's all I did. When I played Prison of Elders, I just jumped and ran around and shot Gjallarhorn. That's my strategy. So you're gonna encounter these bosses, and each of these bosses have a different raid type mechanic. So in this place, you're gonna have to deal with his shield. He also has freaking ogres that come at you, and ogres hurt. These are not some little wimpy ogres. These are fully grown men ogres. And when you're dealing with them in such a tight space in this little room, it's not super small, but it's obviously a lot smaller than in situations you're used to dealing with them. And it's a lot more open. There's a lot less stuff to hide behind. It's difficult, man. It gets really difficult. And of course, the raid boss dudes are not easy to take down. They take a lot to finally get rid of them. So what you're gonna be encountering are these ads coming at you. They're gonna keep spawning these aliens, the ogres and the thrall and the wizards. And once you get all of them down, you have a really small window that you can actually do damage to the boss and not worry about getting hit by the other enemies. So you have to go full out on damaging the boss as soon as you're able to get rid of all of the other enemies, because when you're trying to deal with the boss and deal with other enemies, it gets very difficult. Of course, the boss does a butt ton of damage and the other enemies are no joke either. So when you do have that opportunity to actually get damage down on the boss without having to worry about anything else, you definitely want to take it. Gjallarhorn's at the ready whenever you have that opportunity. Now, the bosses that you encounter within the Prison of Elders are going to be different based on which level activity you chose at the beginning. You have level 28, level 32, level 34, and level 35. So each of these have a different boss that you're going to be encountering. Also, we didn't get to fight against the Vex in this particular Prison of Elders, so I'm really excited to see the different bosses and to see the Vex environment. So on the final round of this particular Prison of Elders run, we had to fight Valus Tragg. He's a Cabal dude. He's a Cabal guy. Now, the cool thing, or frustrating and annoying thing about this particular boss is that he has the ability to recalibrate his shields. And every time he does that, he's gonna change the element of his shield. So he goes from an arc shield to a solar shield to a void shield. So when you enter the Prison of Elders, you really need to make sure that you just have all of the weapons, because of course you're fighting the different aliens, and Cabal tend to have solar shields, and then Fallen tend to have arc shields, and then Vex tend to have void shields. So you need to have the different type of weapon damages for each of those, but also for this boss, you need to make sure you have all of the different weapon types. So if you can have a primary with arc damage, or a heavy with solar, and then a secondary with void, then you're gonna be in a really good situation. When I personally played this Prison of Elders, I only had the 4th Horseman for arc damage. Now that's cool, the 4th Horseman is awesome in PvE, but the issue is when you're using something like the 4th Horseman on a boss, they tend to have an AoE attack. So when I was personally playing, he got really low, and I was like, screw it, I'm switching to the 4th Horseman. He's got a freaking arc shield. I don't have anything else arc. I want to kill him. I want him to die, and I want to get my loots. So I switched to the 4th Horseman, ran in there, and just spammed it at him. He ended up killing me, but I also ended up killing him. So you definitely want to make sure that you do come completely prepared to deal with all of the shields that you're going to be encountering in the Prison of Elders. So just to recap what we've talked about so far, because I know it's been quite a long video already, in the Prison of Elders there's 5 rounds that you have to go through. Each round has 3 waves. Each time you go into a round, you're going to have a different modifier which can work for you, against you, or both, such as Light Switch. Light Switch can be good for you. Just most of the time it kills you. You're also going to have objective-based rounds where you have to destroy mines or capture mines. And then there's also going to be gifts that you can be given to make things a little bit easier with the Scorch Cannon and heavy ammo drops. And you're going to be encountering raid boss mechanics on each of the bosses that come with the Prison of Elders. In this video, we saw the Hive boss, and we also saw Valis Targargar, who changes his shields all the time. So what do I think about the Prison of Elders? After being able to play it, I'm gonna say that I prefer the Prison of Elders to a raid. Now, my reasoning for that is that the Prison of Elders is different every time you go in. You have level 28, level 32, level 34, and level 35, which are totally different. You're encountering different enemies, you're encountering different bosses, you may even be encountering different modifiers and different gifts. We don't know that yet because we only played 1 round of it, but it's totally different. Even if you're only playing the level 34 one, for example, you're gonna have different modifiers each time you go in. So you have to change the way that you play every time you enter the Prison of Elders. Whereas with a raid, once you do it and you get used to it, it's just the same thing every single time. And I definitely prefer having a fresh experience every time I go into something. And I personally think that the Prison of Elders is more challenging than a raid as well, because it gets crazy. You're stuck in this room. It's very difficult to cheese it. I'm sure people will find ways, but it's a lot more difficult to hide. You have to go out there and fight and try and survive. So I prefer the Prison of Elders to a raid. I know a lot of people were disappointed that they weren't going to get a raid, but I think Prison of Elders is awesome. It's more challenging and it's fresh every time you go in. In my opinion, you guys might think differently when you actually get to play it, but in my opinion, it's definitely a lot more challenging, especially with only 3 players. If one person messes up and then another person dies because you don't have the 3rd person, it can get very difficult. So I know you're probably thinking, how can you make a Prison of Elders video and not talk about the loot? How do you get the loot? What is the loot? Well, after completing each of the 5 rounds and defeating the final boss, you are victorious and you get to claim your prize. Sadly, I cannot share with you guys how you get it, but I can say that you do get something awesome and amazing after you complete the Prison of Elders. And you're gonna be very thankful that we're not able to share with you guys what the loot is and how you get it, because it's gonna be an incredible surprise when you finally get your hands on the Prison of Elders. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions about the Prison of Elders, please do let me know in the comment section and I will answer all of them for you. And I will speak to you awesome people later. Bye.